Who has been the most important person in your life so far?
I would have to say my father. Um, he was probably one of the kindest and selfless people I've ever met in my life. He always thought about others. He always worked hard. He kind of stayed in the background, but he always put his family first.
Okay. Um, and what did your father do for a living?
He was a truck driver.
A truck driver. How long did he do that?
45 years he drove for Kraft Foods.
Wow, that's a great career.
Yes.
And where did you grow up with your father and your mother?
Lived my whole life in Springfield. I only remember one house, being in one house. They had several houses, but I only remember being in the house that I grew up in my whole life.
Well, that's nice, isn't it? What was the happiest moment of your life so far?
I would have to say the birth of both of my children. It was days that I will never forget. Most gratifying and fulfilling times ever.
All right. Let me ask you this. Now that I've asked you what was the happiest moment in your life, what was the saddest moment in your life?
The saddest day of my life was when my father passed away. We lost him to cancer 6 years ago, and that was a very hard day, even though we knew that day was very soon to happen. You're never ready to say goodbye, no matter what.
I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was a very sad day. I'd give anything to have him back, and I'm sure you would too.
Yes.
What national event in your childhood really stands out to you in a negative way? It could be an assassination or, someone you didn't like had something happen to them, or a natural disaster or something. What was probably the hardest for you? And if there wasn't really anything in your childhood, maybe into your 20s and maybe even early 30s, what was very, very hard for you?
There's been several things that have happened, but I think probably, I was very, very young when JFK was assassinated, so I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, that was, you hadn't quite gotten to where you could comprehend quite
No,
yet. So.
I was 8 months old, so I'm old, but like I was old. But I know that was like one of the most tragic events ever. I would have to say probably the event that affected me the most in a negative and positive way. It was like a two-edged sword. Probably was when the Twin Towers were attacked. Simply because I remember that day very clearly. I remember a lot of things about it. I remember watching the footage hearing it on the radio. I heard it on the radio first. And I remember I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this is not happening. This cannot be happening. And then turning on the TV and watching it happen. And that very same day, my great niece was born.
Is there anything that you would like to say before we end this
I would just
interview?
like to say thank you for letting me have this opportunity. I'm honored to be able to share some of my experiences and thoughts on different questions that you had. Kind of need to talk about stuff like that. I don't really think about stuff like that anymore. So busy with life and everything. So It's a good trip down memory lane.
All right. Well, that's going to conclude our interview. Thank you again for being here, and this concludes the um, StoryCorps interview with someone that has inspired you edition. Spencer Robarge signing off. Thank you.